You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. No new callers. So let's go ahead and get this all set up for Daniel from California.
You know, I just want to thank you, Ryan, just for what you do, because, like, having, like, personalized content for your team, because I really feel like I have an understanding of what happened and why because of everything you go through. I was listening to Brett Coleman, him and the bootleg football guys.
Yeah.
They did their breakdown of the Packers today, and I'm just listening to it, and it's just like there's not. I don't think they mentioned in the whole podcast Jordan Love's injury, and it's just the entire thing is just like the Packers can't beat the division. And it's just like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's very clear what happened each divisional game. The first one was the Vikings, and that game, Jordan Love's first game back, he throws a bunch of interceptions the first half, and then he turns it on the second half once he starts going, and then, you know, he almost comes back, right?
Right.
I don't think that's a bad performance considering the guy's on a bad knee. After that, the first Lions game, they, you know, still shaky. They just don't show up in the first half, but they turn it on, and I don't believe it. I'd have to look at it, but I don't think it was like the high turnover one. The next Lions game, I think, or that's the first one where he got injured, and then the second one was a close one, but, you know, he had his groin the first game, and then the Bears game that we lost, you look at that game, it's just like it's week 18, and it's just you're competing for the playoffs. Like, we half-heartedly, like, that was a half-hearted game, and these guys won on the last play of the game, so it's like I'm not going to, like, yes, we should have won that game, but I'm, like, we already had a playoff berth, so it's, like, not something that I'm going to freak out about. And then you go back to the couple games before, you got the other two Lions and Vikings games, both highly competitive games. It's just, you know, we're just a sloppy passing offense at that point. And then specifically the Vikings game, Javon Bullard ended up getting torched because he had to fill in and play free safety, and he hadn't been playing a lot of free safety coming out of his injury. He's mostly his block guy, so he's playing out of position on an offense that was playing pretty good at the time. So it's like, I'm not going to make excuses for anything. Like, it's just bad timing. Every time we played at NFC North team, something happened. We had an injury where you got a guy out of position, or you have a quarterback that's on one leg, or we already, you know, we had nothing to play for. We should have went in and beat the Bears. The Packers didn't show up. That's on them. But it's like, I don't, like, they're acting like we couldn't beat them. We could have beat those teams.
Right.
And it's like, clearly Jordan Love was injured, and I just don't like the whole thing. And I just want to thank you for, like, the perspective and everything you provide. So, thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, and you know, I share your frustration. I mean, I think Brett Coleman's a smart guy. I think he's done a great job with what he does. I respect the amount of work he put in. You know, he deserves where he's at. He started off doing, you know, the breakdowns, and real smart guy when it comes to football and watching film and all that. He's a film guy. But at the same time, what you're describing is lazy analysis and, you know, poor, what would you call it? He's not doing a good job of getting all the information, getting the right information, and then knowing how to use the information to come to the right conclusion. All of that is broken in this. So whereas I think is a good film guy, I think this kind of analysis maybe is not great for him, just based on what you're talking about. And, you know, I think you can absolutely make a case for the Packers not being the top team in the NFC North. I don't have a problem with that, but if you're going to talk down to the Packers, if you're going to say they can't do it or they this, that, you better come prepared. Because if you start talking stupid stuff like they can't, listen, if you want to talk about can't, you better be talking about, the freaking Giants beating the Eagles or something. That's can't. If you're talking about an 11-win football team that came within one score of beating just about every single NFC North opponent, with one exception, they came within one score with a broken down quarterback in an entirely new, even if it wasn't the injuries, it's a new year. It's insane analysis. I think it's insane to say the Vikings can't beat teams in the end, and we don't even know. We don't even know if J.J. McCarthy can play. The Bears can beat teams in the NFC North. I mean, the fact that the Packers didn't win against some of the best NFC North competition we've seen, and they lost one game to the Bears because of, again, injuries, and we pulled our starters, which I do put that on the coaching staff. Again, I think it was stupid. You have to choose. Either we're going to win this game or we're going to pull our starters. They decided we're going to do half of each. We're going to kind of play our starters. We're going to kind of care, but we're probably going to pull our guys, and then the quarterback gets hurt, and you panic, and you pull everybody. So we went in, we got hurt, and we lost. I mean, it was the worst possible thing that you could ever do. Stupid. But there's no way in the world that good, rational analysis would bring you to the conclusion that the Packers cannot beat the Bears, Lions, and Vikings. That's just stupidity. I think he's a Bears fan anyway, isn't he? So he's going to be saying stupid stuff. And Bears fans especially get hung up on that. Oh, you almost got swept. It was just because, I'm sure he made the comment about you were Matt LaFleur even said it, but you were a fingertip away from getting swept by the division. Listen, when we talk about variability from season to season, how close the Packers, Vikings, and Lions were is easily within the margin of error when it comes to the variability from season to season. So pretending last season is going to dictate what happens this season when something's that close is just stupid to begin with. So having not watched that video, the way you're describing it, it sounds like awful analysis.
But just to round out, those guys are going in just like, oh, these guys don't have anybody on their team. I might be the only person with this opinion, but I think because of how our drafts have gone the last few years, we actually have a top 3 roster in the NFL.
That's becoming an emerging narrative, and I can't really dispute it because I don't want to say I was the first to say it, but I was the first one that I heard say it, which is it's a good roster, it's just lacking sort of the top-end talent. And even that I'm changing my opinion on because with the additions of, again, guys like Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs, those are blue-chip players. With the emergence of Edgerrin Cooper, I mean, last year we added 3. That's a big number. Having 3 blue-chip players on a team, you can define blue-chip however you want, but Xavier McKinney is probably the best safety in football. Saying he's not a blue-chip is stupid. Edgerrin Cooper last year was easily a top 5 linebacker as a rookie. Josh Jacobs is a top running back. I think he was somewhat let down by the offensive line, but as far as his talent, as far as on a neutral field with a neutral team, he would be one of the top 5 guys. And then it's a question of how many good players do you have? Evan Williams is a good safety. All of our corners, I think, are good corners. I understand we don't have a blue chip guy. We don't have probably, arguably, even a top 32 guy, although Valentine last year was. So we would have to assume that was just a fluke in order to say we have bad corners. But the thing is, we don't have a single bad corner outside of Bullard. And if it ends up being Nixon, Valentine, and Keyshawn, those are 3 solid players. Are they, maybe 3 number 2s? Valentine could be a number 1, so you got a number 1 and 2 number 2s, which is a phenomenal spot to be in that most are not in, and we're calling that our biggest weakness. Rashawn, even if he doesn't get back to being a blue chip player, is a good player. The entire offensive line is a good offensive line. Jordan Love, if he doesn't get back to 2023, which was blue chip, if he never gets back to that, he's a good quarterback. All of our receivers are good receivers. I think, we're getting too hung up on this lack of top-end talent thing, because there's a big difference between two different teams that maybe have, let's say, 3 blue chip players. However many you want to decide. One could have 3 blue chip players and just a dog crap team. In other words, if you're looking at PFF, you got a bunch of 40s and 50s running around. And then you got another team that has 67s and 72s. That's the Packers. And that's not a terrible situation to be in. We still have question marks. There's a question, where is Jordan? Where is Rashawn? Where is Golden? We could ask questions about, Evan Williams and, the corner group and how those guys all sort out. But, if we're talking about, like, the actual worst group, what is it? Defensive line? You can say corner if you want. I've already said it's like a number 1 and 2 number 2s-ish. It's not a bad group. It's not safety. Is it defensive tackle, which really wasn't an issue last year, aside from early in the season when there was a lack of pressure, not late in the season? It's not offensive line. It's not quarterback. It's not wide receiver. It's not tight end. It's not running back. So again, there is that. It's one of the videos I wanted to talk about on tomorrow's podcast, but I didn't. And we'll probably have to push it back even further because we got training camp coming back up. But I'm collecting some receipts that I want to discuss, and Colin Cowherd goes into this whole diatribe about how the Packers kind of like don't have these identifiable, nameable figures. Which again, I think if you went back a couple years, that was much more true than it is today. And listen, I'm on the record saying we're kind of on a tipping point here, and I'm looking at Brian Gutekunst saying, if a couple things go the right way, if Jordan gets back to being a premier guy, if Golden's a good pick, if Evan Williams remains a good pick, if certain things, then I'm still all in on Gutekunst. If things go the wrong way, if Jordan doesn't really pan out, and you look at Quay and Jordan Morgan is not great, and Anthony Belton is not playing, and Marshawn Lloyd is just sitting there kind of floundering as the number 2-3 running back, and Golden is kind of just like another Dobbs or, Reed or the rest of these guys. If that's kind of the path, then yeah, then fine. There's a problem here. But I don't want to go too heavy down that path, you know what I mean? Of the Packers are this obscure team that with nobody on the team that anybody knows. Like, listen, if you don't know Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs, and some of these, if you don't know Zach Tom and Elton Jenkins, and if you don't know, pretty much all our receivers, they're not nobodies. They're not, Puka Nacua, but it's not Olamide Zaccheaus. I have no idea why that's the name I just pulled off the top of my head, but I don't know. You get the idea.
Anybody else believes that or not, that's what I believe, because we have 3 drafts where we got to keep all those guys on rookie contracts. So we got draftable guys on the same team, okay? Usually about 10 guys depending on if somebody didn't make the roster, right? But we have a lot of depth, and these guys, they all stuck around. Are there a lot of B's and A's on that? No, there's a lot of B's and a lot of C's, but most teams, after their C's and B's, they got a lot of D's and F's.
Right.
Like we have mostly like high-end D's and C's behind everybody. So it's like, that's the whole thing about our team. Like, we have more depth than everybody because we don't have a lot of bad guys. How many guys last year were signed off our roster, like signed to an active roster? I think we were second to the 49ers or something like that. But I really like people, just because we don't have the high-end talent, it really upsets me because they just gloss over our roster as one of the best in the NFL, because we're like the, 70s or 80s Dolphins, where it's like they went undefeated with a bunch of no-name guys. I'm not saying we're going undefeated, but we do have a roster the last couple years that nobody knows the name of, and they, one made a playoff run, and the other, they won 11 games with guys that nobody's ever heard of, apparently. So
Right.
I'm just fiery about it, man. I'm really excited for the season. I think we're going to go win the division. I think we're going to go and make a deep playoff run. We might make a Super Bowl berth. Who knows? But that's because this roster is one of the top 3 best rosters in the NFL. That's my opinion. We have the depth. Let's go. We got it. Go Pack Go.
Yeah, I just had a weird thing I mean, it's one of those like super obvious things, but it feels profound. I was upstairs and I was sitting there and I was like, I really want the Packers to win the Super Bowl this year. Again, it sounds stupid, but and maybe it's just because I do this every day and it just becomes so, again, I try to back off of the Super Bowl thing because you can't just sit here and go Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, so 24/7 because you're just miserable and nothing ever is good enough. But at the same time, it's like, man, would that, it's kind of like a what if thing. What if, because I agree with you. I do think that they have what it takes. I think a lot of teams have what it takes, which is why it's not, you should win the Super Bowl because you have all this talent. Well, yes and no. That applies to the Chiefs. It applies to the Eagles. It applies to the Lions. It applies potentially to the Vikings pending the quarterback question. It applies to a lot of different teams where they have technically the talent that is good enough to be able to win. So it's just a question of can they do it? But yeah, I mean, I do think that they're in the hunt. I think that they are. It just comes down to those questions. If Jordan can be that dude, I mean, there's nothing stopping this team. If Jordan can be that guy, and again, I put a lot of emphasis on Matthew Golden as a rookie. I know that's maybe unfair, but it just is what it is. I'm genuinely very hopeful that that he can be let's call it if he could be top 20 among receivers, and there's a lot of good receivers, so top 20 means a lot compared to like tight end or safety or something. You'd be the 18th and you're just kind of receiver. If you're top 20, you're a good freaking football player. Yeah, if you could be in that top 20, top 15 range, I don't know, man. I mean, I think that with Jordan, with a hopefully improved offensive line, and again, I don't have a problem with the pass blocking, but if you can get a little bit better with the run blocking so that the run game is going better, if health is a little bit more on our side, obviously some people are going to get hurt, but if we could have non-critical people like our freaking quarterback, that'd be cool. Jordan could stay healthy this year. Again, there are no guarantees. It's kind of like you're saying, winning the division. I don't have any question that we're good enough to win the division. The issue is that the Lions are very much good enough to win the division. I think the Vikings potentially, a lot of variables there, but potentially are good enough to win the division. The Bears, pending some kind of a shocking thing that happens rapidly that would have to be a complete turnaround from even where they are right now, which is a friggin' mess to where the coach is shutting down practice for the offense because they suck so bad. So yeah, it's I have less questions about the Packers as I do just realizing that, and again, this is kind of where my mentality on the Super Bowl is in general, which is all you can do is be good enough and then let the chips fall where they may. And the fact of the matter is there's a lot of teams that are good enough. There is no building the perfect team that is guaranteed to win. That's not a thing. You just build a team that's good enough and you hope that you're the one that's the last man standing. I don't know what else you can do other than that. And I know a lot of negative fans, a lot of the only thing that matters is a Super Bowl type fans. That's not good enough. But I would just ask you, what else is there? If you have a team right now, I mean, pick the team that pick any team. Pick the Eagles. I don't care what it is. You know they're not guaranteed to win, right? So what does that mean? Are they good enough to win? The answer is yes. So what can you do to the Eagles to take them from good enough to win to guaranteed to win? The answer is nothing. So all you can do is try to build the best roster possible, try to assemble the best staff possible with the coaching staff, the training staff to try to help with health as much as is manageable. And at that point, it's just a question of, are you going to end up on top? Which isn't necessarily based on who's the best. It's just not. Sometimes the best isn't the one that wins. I do think the best won this past year. I don't think you can make a case for a team being better than the Eagles. I think multiple times you could make a case for teams being better than the Chiefs, but they didn't get it done when it mattered. I think there were AFC teams. Certain times when the Bengals or the Bills or the Ravens, I would say if you look at the roster construction and all that stuff, you would much rather have that than what the Chiefs had. Didn't matter. The Rams, as I've said 1,000 times, no way in the world was that the top team. But they were a good enough team. They had a roster that was good enough to win, and they ended up winning. And that's it. That's the whole story. So I'm confident the Packers will be a team that is good enough to win. I'm just aware of the fact that a lot of other teams are good enough to win, and we'll see what happens. Week 1 against the Lions. I am confident that the Packers can be a team that's better than the Lions and can beat the Lions. But, one of the things when you see people, they do their predictions. And the critique that I have of a lot of fans when they do their prediction is you beat all the bad teams. That's just automatic. And then you kind of split with the good teams. And that's usually how people do their predictions. And how much, what that split is, whether it's, the supposedly unbiased fan would be like 50-50 with the tough games. More biased people would be, 70-30. But it's just kind of you're looking at it only from your point of view. And so as a Packer fan, you look at it and go, you know what? I think we're good enough, and I think we're going to win week 1. Okay, but from the Lions' perspective, how do you feel? Of course you feel good. You beat the Packers twice last year. You're a very good football team. Why wouldn't you win that game? So the Packers can win that game. The Packers are good enough to win that game. But that doesn't mean they will win the game. And that's the frustrating thing about the NFL. The first 2 weeks, I think, are Detroit and Washington. The Packers can be a good enough team to win both of those games, to be 2-0, to be a playoff team, to be a Super Bowl team. And even with that criteria, start the season 0-2. But that's also what makes it exciting. That's why the Bears winning the offseason doesn't mean anything. Because at the end of the day, the offseason is useless, and our perception of how good a team is in September or August or July doesn't matter. What matters is what you put on the field when game time comes, and it's why there's anxiety before these games, and it's why there's massive excitement if you do beat these teams, because there are no guarantees. You don't know. Even if when you're playing the bad teams, as much as we're all confident, we go through and go, well, that's a win, that's a win. When that game comes, are we saying, well, that's a win? Not really. We might say that on Wednesday, but on Sunday morning, that anxiety is ramping up because you know any given Sunday. So we'll take a break. We'll come back. We got more Daniel from California.
Hey, Ryan, Daniel from California.
Yo.
I know I'm late to the train with the Zach Tom contract, but my resounding point with the whole offensive line situation, Elton Jenkins, all the Zach Tom, everybody, right, is the Packers don't have a plan for their starting 5, not in a bad way, but in a good way. They're going to let the offensive line shake itself out. My question that I ask every time I bring up the offensive line is, what if Anthony Belton is good? That is your right tackle, Zach Tom at center, Elton Jenkins could be left guard, and then Aaron Banks could be right guard. Morgan, it's an option, right? Because you do this contract, and he still pays somebody like Jordan Mailata, so he still has top 10 tackle money on the thing, but it's not how this contract should go. He got all this guaranteed money, and all this money up front, just so he's covered. So it's I get why the contract makes sense for Zach Tom, because he's I got my cash, man. I got I think it's $30 million right in the bank, and then I got all these guarantees included with it. So I understand the contract makes total sense for him. It's less money overall, but the guarantees on it, it's okay, I understand. But flexibility wise, if they going forward want to have him as the center, that's an option, because you're not overpaying for him. So this just kind of more shows it's if they love him at right tackle, but for some reason, if they got to put him at center, if these guys all hit, because we got 5 guys that can play tackle on paper, we're gonna say, right? It's part of the deal. So if he ends up being the center, if Anthony Belton hits, he's right tackle. If he hits and leads left tackle, even better, because he's just a monster human. Jordan Morgan at right tackle, Zach Tom at right tackle. It's just the whole plan is competition is going to decide. And the one thing about the Packers is if it's close, they're going to go with the veteran. But just imagine if Felton or one of these guys just outright wins, dude, because it says so much about them. And I'm just really excited for it, all right?
Yeah.
So everybody get excited. Competition. Receivers, Offensive line, defensive line, receive, everything is going to be so fun to watch. So everybody enjoy it. Go Pack Go.
Yeah, I just, I kind of mentioned this on tomorrow's podcast, but, I'm always rooting for guys to get replaced, as much as that sounds terrible. But the assumption is, Rasheed Walker is a good tackle, and if he wins, we have a good tackle. If he loses, though, the assumption I'm going to make is something better is coming. I also just hate the idea of a first or second round pick not winning the job and feeling like that was a massive failure. But you're right. I mean, the Packers are very fluid in these things. I don't know if they'd be able to pitch that to Zach Tom as much, to be able to say, we're not going to pay you top right tackle money because who knows, maybe we'll kick you inside. I don't know. I mean, it is a relatively low number. I think most people would agree that that's, considering he is a right tackle and considering what he's done as a right tackle, I would think he'd be worth more, and he got less somehow. So maybe that is part of it. Maybe they were able to sell that point or whatever. But either way, again, even the fans that are a little skeptical on Tom and don't put him in, by the way, I didn't put him in the blue chip category, which I think arguably he could be, but the people that wouldn't put him in that category are pretty satisfied. I think it's an extremely reasonable number for a guy that, is I think we would all agree, regardless of where we would rank him. And I don't even know. I haven't gone through that exercise. I know Packer Superfan asked me to do it, and I haven't. I was thinking about I did quarterback, and I was thinking about trying to do other positions as well, but obviously we're busy. We got stuff going on right now. What the heck was I going to say now? Oh, I think no matter what, we're all of the opinion that he is a starting right tackle for the Green Bay Packers, and that's a good thing, right? I mean, he is a starting caliber player for sure. So, Corey from Ohio.
What's up, man? Ain't calling a while. Corey from Ohio.
How you doing, man?
I was listening to your guys' conversation of 5 Packers you'd pick to take on a gorilla.
Yeah.
I thought of a pretty good list. Reggie White.
Yes.
Gilbert Brown.
Love it.
Ray Nitschke.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember or not. Sean Jones. Big boy defense. Played on the 90 Super Bowl team. He's 6'7", 220.
Okay.
And then throw number 5 in there. Clay Matthews.
Sure.
Big, buff, psycho.
Yeah.
Thought that was a pretty good list. Also wanted to ask you if you could do me a favor. I was wondering if you could put an AI song together, like maybe a rap version of Brett Favre. I think that'd be freaking sweet.
Yeah.
Let me know. Thanks.
I mean, right off the top of my head, the fact that he's the gunslinger and it's rap, I feel like there's something that can be worked with there. But yes, that will be the plan for today. That's what we're doing. All right, I think that's done. Uncle Rico.
Yo, Ryan, it's your Uncle Rico.
What's up, man?
Hey, Omar just called in and something about fighting aliens and picking 5 guys and
yeah.
So first thing, same as you, comes to my mind, Reggie.
Yep.
You got to have Reggie. For one, he's a bad.
I think you're like the 4th person to attempt this. Nobody has left off Reggie, so I'm glad we're all in agreement.
And for 2, he's got the Lord on his side, so that never hurt.
Exactly.
But then I was thinking Brett Favre.
You throw stuff
Brett,
at
you
him?
want to fight some aliens? Well, hell yeah, I want to fight some aliens. What are we going to throw at them?
It's actually a brilliant plan because you don't want everybody just clumped up punching him. Having a guy that can, like, Brett, you get back, grab rocks, and launch it as hard as you frickin' can at this thing's head, at its ribs, at its eye. I think you need that. I think you need a gunslinger in there.
Some rocks at him or something? Beer bottles? Yeah, let's throw beer bottles at aliens.
No, that's brilliant.
Let's do that. So I think Brett Favre should be on the list. And what else? Oh, I called in, I don't know, a while back. Was talking about the good old days and the Packer report and the media guide and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if that ever made it on air, but might have been the only smart thing I ever said in my calling in. So and then I missed it. maybe
Be honest, I'm pretty sure we played that. It's ringing a bell. I don't fully remember the context of what all was talked about with that.
missed it. Well, I might have missed it, but it might have missed the podcast. But I thought it was informative. Yeah, usually I'm not very informative because I don't know what the heck I'm talking about, but I thought that was. Anyways, go Pack Go. Training camp started. I'm very excited. I've been trying to watch your exciting training camp news, but
Heck yeah.
nothing too exciting yet. But it's coming. It's coming. All right. Rico out. Go Pack Go.
Well, I'll just agree with you that you did call in. We did talk about it, and it was brilliant. And we'll leave it at that. By the way, we are now, as far as the calls, Wednesday, 11:48. So training camp would have started over the last couple hours or so, and me talking about it would have been the next day. So as far as like the calls coming in, and now we're talking about training camp, hopefully pretty soon here. We got, one more Uncle Rico. Actually, two more. This is at 12:02 a.m. So two more Uncle Ricos, and then, we're in it now. We're finally caught up to training camp. Uncle Rico Part 2.
Yo, Ryan, it's your Uncle Rico.
Yo.
I was just listening a little closer, and I guess it's a gorilla, not aliens.
No,
it's
that's fine. We got it.
Either way, we're battling an alien. I still say Brett Favre.
No,
Brett Favre, he's in. He's
right.
like, gorilla? Yeah. Let's get that gorilla. Hell, let's get that gorilla drunk. Then we'll fight it. Let's wrestle it. Yeah. I just think Brett
better
Favre
than cocaine,
is down
I guess.
for anything that, especially with gorillas, I'm sure. Aliens, yeah, but gorillas for sure. He like to wrestle gorillas and tussle with them and stuff like that. That's yeah. Brett Favre. Reggie White, then Brett Favre. That's all we need. I mean, we don't even need the three other guys.
It's true.
All right, then. Rico out.
Yeah, have Reggie just, grapple with him while he gets pelted from Brett Favre. I think that works.
Ryan, yo, I forgot my intro. Yo, Ryan, it's your Uncle Rico. I'm going to tell you now. I'm your Uncle Rico. Anyways, I'm a little baffled, Ryan, because James Gandolfini's daughter is like 13, and I don't know what's going on. Help.
For reference, in my dream, she was not. We were both in like college or something. And it was a very slow-moving dream. It was one of those things where, there's the girl and then there's like all the brothers, and it was very awkward. And then you go meet the dad, and it's frickin' James Gandolfini. So that was intimidating. But, it's a dream, Uncle Rico. It's not real life. So it wasn't his real daughter, and it wasn't actually James Gandolfini because he died a long time ago. Also, I'm not currently dating anyone because I'm married. So, yeah, just a dream. All right. We got Mr. Dur Trader here, and it is Thursday at 4 a.m., so maybe this is right after I would have posted the episode, so we'll see what's up.
Howdy, this is Jared Trader, the Uber driver from Texas.
What's up?
So I was just calling, why was I calling? There was what's it called? The NFL Top 100.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw this, but Rashawn Gary made number 80. Great.
I avoid those things like the plague. I occasionally will see it, and it's like, oh, congrats, Jordan, you made this. I don't care. It's so irrelevant to me. It holds no standing. People treat it as though it's like something official. Like, no, he's only this. It's like that's not actually where they are. It's just freaking... I don't know. It's stupid to me.
That's awesome. He was 50 last year. He's 80 now. Down year. Still number in the 80. That's good. But they had him listed as a defensive tackle. Is that right? I'm pretty sure he played edge, not defensive tackle. Anyways, sorry, I just was shocked that the NFL Network said defensive tackle. Anyways, have a good one. Go Pack, go. Bye.
That's worse than I would have thought. I just would have assumed it's just bad rankings and that's the end of it, but apparently they don't even know what position these guys... Top 100 players, by the way, by their own metrics, and they don't even know what position they play. I mean, that one is kind of indefensible. Like, I mean, if you said defensive line, maybe that you could go with that, defensive lineman, because technically he is on the defensive line. I do think a lot of institutions, particularly some of the old school people and maybe the NFL.com community, do need to get up on the current vernacular. I'm kind of getting tired of, outside linebackers and just the confusion that comes with that. The defensive lineman and outside linebacker and defensive end, and like defensive end means two different things if it's 3-4 or 4-3. A defensive end in a 4-3 is an edge rusher. A defensive end in a 3-4 is a defensive tackle. So why don't we just stick with the correct vernacular here? Defensive tackle, edge, linebacker. Linebacker is an off-ball linebacker. If you rush the quarterback 98% of the time, you're not a freaking linebacker. All right? You're not. Knock it off. I hate that and part of the reason I hate it is because I sometimes will use data, like Pro Football Reference has a ton of NFL data. And so a lot of times when I'm compiling stats or whatever, I'll go grab all this stuff. Well, they use the archaic thing of that. And so you'll have some of the pass rushers that are listed as linebackers. Some of the pass rushers are listed as defensive linemen. Some of them are listed as defensive end. It's like, guys, they're all edge. All of these guys, if you could just use the more modern vernacular that all the kids are using these days, this would be so much easier. But you're stuck with this nonsense. Or same with like certain websites like Spot Track and all that, they still do the same thing. And so you're trying to compare contracts. You can't, it's impossible. If you're trying to compare contracts based on position, sometimes it's absolutely impossible because, or like if I'm looking for free agents that can do the same thing on those websites, it's like, guys, I can't find what I'm looking for. I can't crunch the numbers I need to because everything is so intertwined and stupid. If you have edge rushers and defensive tackles on one list and edge rushers and off-ball linebackers on another list, you're an idiot. They should not be intermingled. They're three distinct groups. And you can break it down even further from there, that's fine. If you want to talk about one tech, three tech, nose tackle, defensive end versus defensive tackle in a 3-4, different types of defensive tackles. Edge rushers can be defensive ends or outside linebackers. There's a distinction in there. But we should not have a situation where, Rashawn Gary is on the same list as Kenny Clark. It's just not, it's not how that works.
Howdy, this is the Uber driver from Texas, Jared or whatever.
What's up?
So I was listening to After Dark. I know that the head coach from A&M says that Shamar Stewart isn't going back to school.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's an option. And also, for the gorilla fight,
he signed, by the way.
Definitely got to get Reggie White in there. Definitely got to get Ray Nitschke in there.
Yep.
Definitely got to get, what's his name? I was thinking Caleb Jones too, big dude, the whole 6'9" thing. And then let's see. So this is interesting. So I think the best strategy is to tire out the gorilla, and we got to get somebody shifty. So I don't know who the shiftiest Packer there's ever been. I don't know if it would be like.
Do you give a nod to Sterling or something?
Or Sterling Sharp.
Yeah.
This is like the bucket that I don't know is like as far as shifty goes, like or even fast. But I think shifty would be better so they could just avoid the hit. So like I don't know if Sterling Sharp was that shifty. Maybe Devontae. Maybe somebody shifty. The shiftiest Packer there's ever been, so that he can just run circles around him and just get him tired.
Yep.
And then last one, maybe I would probably say another big dude, probably Gilbert Brown. So like,
Yep.
4 big mean dudes. Maybe your bucket includes Mike Daniels, which is awesome. But yeah, and then a shifty one just to tire that gorilla out, and then let the chaos ensue. That's all I got to say right now. Go Pack, go.
So I'm trying to get the robots to chime in on the shifty thing. It looks like Claude is going with all time would be Donald Driver. Gemini has got Randall Cobb, Aaron Jones, Sterling Sharp, Don Hudson. And then it settled on if I'm forced to pick one, I would go with Don Hudson. So we'll say Gemini says Hudson. ChatGPT says Sterling Sharp. Actually, no, it doesn't. So it starts off, it says, wait, just kidding. He was a beast, but not shifty, more like dominant, angry, and unguardable. Oh, man, they actually put, like, gold medals and stuff. So getting the bronze medal, Travis Williams, a.k.a. the Roadrunner, from the 1960s, might be the most underrated returner in NFL history. Pure lightning in a bottle. 1967, he had 4 kick return touchdowns, which is still an NFL record. His open field agility and top-end speed were absurd for the era. Second place, Randall Cobb, it says in his prime. Slot magician in 2014 especially, Cobb had a joystick-like movement. The dude just glided past tacklers and could embarrass a nickel corner on a pivot route. Bubble screens, reverses, option routes. He thrived with his footwork and creativity in space. But the number one, I'm leaning toward, with how well-spoken it is on this issue. ChatGPT's kind of got me hooked here. Number one, Amon Green. Why he's the king of Packers shiftiness. Ridiculous lateral quickness for his size. He could plant and explode like a much smaller back. Deadly one-cut runner in the West Coast scheme. Great vision with ability to make people miss in tight spaces. Screen passes and outside zones were his domain. Once he got into space, defenders were toast. He was a perfect blend of speed, power, and shiftiness, and his numbers back it up. And Grok is going to go with Randall Cobb. It's very long. Grok is very long-winded, which kind of annoys me, to be honest, because I just want short, quick little answers. But why the 4 bullet points: agility and quickness, versatility, playmaking in the open field, historical context. It says other contenders, Jaden Reed, Travis Williams, and Sterling Sharp. Why Cobb stands out: Cobb's combination of slot receiver, agility, return game explosiveness, and consistent ability to make defenders miss over a long Packers tenure, over 600 receptions, multiple 1,000-yard seasons, gives him the edge. His role in the 2010 Super Bowl winning team and his chemistry with Aaron Rodgers on improvised plays further cements his reputation. I think these are decent. So Grok says Cobb. GPT says Amon Green. Gemini says Don Hudson. And Claude says Donald Driver. So all 4 picked different Packers players, which I find kind of interesting. All good choices. Trying to think who I would lean. It's a tough call. I might go Donald Driver. I think, ChatGPT did a great job explaining stuff. I just think with Amon Green, if it mentioned shiftiness, but it kind of said it was the combination of shiftiness, power, speed, and all that. I honestly think Travis Williams, the argument there would have been a great argument for number one. The fact that Amon Green is, if we're just purely focused on shiftiness, not he was very shifty and also these other things. Don Hudson, it's hard to say. It's hard to not be biased against the era. Randall Cobb was super shifty, maybe the right decision, but I don't know. Donald Driver was pretty wicked, so I'm just going to go with that. All right, let's take our final break. We got a couple more Jared, the Uber drivers, Nate, Bramble, Nico, Dirt Trader again. So we'll see how far we can get. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Howdy, this is Jared Schrader, the Uber driver from Texas.
What's up?
I just wanted to hit on a few things. Hold on a second.
Okay. Whenever you're ready. Oh. Okay. Let's just skip this call because that one's almost done.
Howdy, this is Jared Schrader, the Uber driver from Texas.
What's up?
I had to figure out some directions about Ubering.
Makes
it was
sense.
a weird U-turn thing. Anyways, so some points from listening to that.
How do you like your job, by the way? You always refer to yourself as Jared the Uber driver, and for some reason that just went over my head. Like, I never actually stopped to contemplate that you're an Uber driver and are probably around Ubering as you're calling. Just curious. I don't know. I haven't. I've taken an Uber maybe twice in my life. Like I said, Clayton and the crew were nice enough to. I think I don't know if they paid for both ways or one way, but either way, that was the first time I ever took an Uber, so that was an interesting experience. And I was kind of contemplating what it would be like to do some Ubering. I don't know. I'm just wondering how you like it.
Packernet After Dark stuff. There was one that I forgot about. I'm a big Jurassic Park fan as well, and I don't know if you've continued your marathon or if you just paused that for now.
No.
Jurassic Park movies. But I think people hate on Jurassic Park 3 a little too much.
See, so in my mind, I had a very distinct picture of what Jurassic Park 2 was, and when I watched 2, that wasn't it. So I think I'm thinking of 3, and I kind of liked 3, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I think it's after 3 that I started to check out when you got, what's that guy, Pratt or whatever, and they're driving around in those stupid balls, and it's all like, it got to be too much for me.
I think it's just a fun movie, but also it's, I actually think it's better than The Lost World, but that's just me. I don't know.
Let me pull up the Jurassic Park.
I love a new big bad and Spinosaurus and everything like that. But, yeah, no, I just want to put my input in there because, yeah. But whenever you were talking about collusion,
yes,
that just brought me back to the show The League. I don't know if you ever watched that funny show about fantasy football. And there was one guy who always was waiting for people to collude, and if they colluded, he called it out, brought it up to the commissioner. It's a funny show, man. You should check it out if you haven't already. And I mean, I don't know when they stopped insider trading. I thought it was around the time of Enron. I think there was a funny movie that came out whenever that happened, like Fun with Dick and Jane or something like that. But yeah, I think that I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. I didn't research it. I'm just driving. So, but also training camp, man. Apparently, Xavier McKinney showing out already on day one. Matthew Golden showing out.
Yeah.
And also Savion Williams showing out. And also, cool little thing happened the other day. I drove a tattoo artist in Houston who apparently did Matthew Golden's tattoos. A lot of them. I'm like,
nice.
Whoa, that's crazy. Apparently he had to touch up a couple tattoos because either his cousin or something was starting doing tattoos, and they were, when you start doing tattoos, it might not be the best work.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so he had to help touch up those as well. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool, fun story about Matthew Golden. Anyways, that's all I got to say. Go Pack, go.
Awesome. So tomorrow, primarily, there's other segments, but primarily we do kind of a recap of days 1, 2, and 3. Kind of got some stats put together. Again, a lot of people laugh at tracking stats. I think it's absolutely useful. Not in the same way that regular season stats are. It's a different thing. But anyways, so kind of go back through some of that days 1, 2, and 3 and combining that news and all that kind of stuff. All right, I got all the Jurassic Parks here. So the first one, obviously, is the first one. The second one is the one that I watched. It was not wonderful. It was fine, but not very good. 3, Alan Grant is coerced into going to Isla Sorna. Wealthy couple claim that they want to sightsee. Soon revealed they're searching for their son who went missing on the island. I think that's the one I said I liked. I think that was a decent one. Then you get to 2015. So and this is the thing. There's been so many. I don't know which one I saw. It was either Jurassic World or Fallen King. I think it was Jurassic World I saw. 22 years after the original, new, fully operational dinosaur theme park, Jurassic World, thriving on Isla Nublar. To boost attendance, the park creates a new genetically modified dinosaur, the Indominus Rex, which inevitably escapes, of course, wreaks havoc, leading to chaos and a desperate fight for survival. And maybe, I don't know. I thought I didn't like it. Who knows? Then you have Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was 2018. 3 years later, Jurassic World, Isla Nublar's dormant volcano becomes active, threatening to wipe out the remaining dinosaurs. Owen Grady, Claire Dearning return to the island and a rescue mission uncover a conspiracy that aims to exploit the dinosaurs for nefarious purpose, leading to the release into the human world. 2022, Jurassic World Dominion. 4 years after Fallen Kingdom, dinosaurs now live alongside humans. See, I can't. I don't think I can do that. Just the premise is already got me. Like, I don't know. 4 years live alongside humans across the globe. The film brings together characters from both the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World trilogies as they grapple with the ecological impact of the new reality and uncover a genetic conspiracy. Okay, so it's another conspiracy. And then 2025, Jurassic World Rebirth, the next film in the franchise, set to release 2025. I think it came out, didn't it? I don't know. That Dominion sounds awful. Maybe it's good. I think I remember seeing the previews, and it was like, oh, they're bringing back the whole cast. That's kind of cool, which it is. But that sounds like an awful premise to me. I don't know. I don't know why. I already hate that movie. So, yeah. But yeah, man, camp's going pretty good. Camp's going great. Nate, what you got going on?
Hey, Ryan, it's Nate. Just wanted to call in to try to sell you a little bit more on An American Werewolf in London. I know you were hesitant because it is a little bit of an older movie. And I know those 80s movies, they got that little bit of like graininess to them, the hairstyle.
Which can work. It can work. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, maybe it was 70s. I don't know. They had some in I think it was 80s, actually. Because I think the second one was in the 90s, which was kind of a stupid movie. But anyways, that graininess can work in your favor, but also there's some just terrible movies made in that time.
Well, they're always a little bit weird, and that's true of all 80s movies. But here's some things about that movie that might make you a little bit more excited.
Okay.
So the director is John Landis, and if that sounds familiar, maybe it doesn't sound familiar, but if it does sound familiar, you may know him as the person who directed the Thriller music video. Greatest music video ever created. Yeah. Just throwing that out there. The other,
I don't know that excites me to watch a horror movie, because the whole Thriller thing was kind of just funny and jokey, in my opinion. I wasn't like terrified as a kid seeing that, but fair enough. The
other thing is the person who did the special effects, Rick Baker, won the Oscar for special effects and makeup for that movie. Nice. I think that was actually the first time that award was ever given out was for that movie. So those are just a couple of things. And then the big reason why I love that movie so much is it has maybe the single most, like, I don't know, it's weird to say accurate, but like the single most accurate depiction of a werewolf transformation I've ever seen.
Okay.
And the fact that most, like when you watch a werewolf movie, most of the transformations happen off camera, in the dark, or like it's just like a shitload of CGI, and the CGI looks dated like 5 years later, and it's never going to hold up. But this is all practical special effects, which I'm a big fan of practical special effects. And it's just like it still holds up to this day. Like just watching the transformation scene is still crazy because I'm like, this is an 80s movie, and this transformation scene looks better than some werewolf movies that I've seen in the past like 10 years. It's nuts.
Fair enough.
And then the other last thing is if you remember the old Dr. Pepper commercials, I'm a pepper, you're a pepper, wouldn't you like to be a pepper? That thing. The main character of An American Werewolf in London is the guy from those commercials. So just a few little fun things about that movie that might make you want to watch it a little bit more. So again, I think it's on Prime if you change your mind. Go Pack Go.
Well, I think your persistence is selling me more than any of those points you just made. Guy from the Dr. Pepper commercial, huh? What do you think? It also made me think of a movie that I actually really like. I don't know that it was ever super popular, but the cast is fantastic. It's the movie Wolf, 1994. Jack Nicholson is the wolf. James Spader, I think that was like my first introduction to James Spader. I really liked him in that movie. So, you know, when you got Robert California and all that kind of stuff, that's kind of my original introduction into James Spader in that movie. Michelle Pfeiffer is the love interest in that. Richard Jenkins. These are names I would never... I mean, Spader and Nicholson I know. Pfeiffer I know. But it's always one of those when I see their face, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. Richard Jenkins is the dad, I think, in Step Brothers. So Christopher Plummer looks familiar, but I couldn't tell you who that is. But yeah, Wolf is... I like the movie Wolf. Pretty wild casting, too. I mean, I know Jack Nicholson's a huge actor, but I can't imagine saying, let's make a horror romance film about a werewolf, and I want Jack Nicholson to be the werewolf. Like, that seems like terrible casting, but it's a good movie. I'm trying to think if we should do one more. We're running up on an hour. I'm kind of feeling like doing one more, but it's Bramble, and I'm worried he's going to call back and yell at me about the education thing again, and I can't go on a 30-minute rant about that again. So we might have to save that for tomorrow. So I think I'm going to call it for today. You all have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Yeah. They call him the gunslinger for a reason. Green Bay legend, ain't no season for treason. Loading up the cannon, letting bullets fly. Brett Favre in the pocket, watch the defense die. Born to shoot, raising Mississippi heat. Got that rocket launcher strapped to my sleeve. They say I'm reckless, throwing into coverage tight, but I've been hitting targets since I learned to fight. Gunslinger mentality, trigger finger quick. Lambo, feel my territory, running every trick. 3 MVPs on my mantle, Super Bowl ring 2. When I cock back and fire, defenses turn blue. Sideline to sideline, my range got no limit. Pack my clip with touchdowns, every throw committed. Ice in my veins when the game on the line. Been shooting down corners since 91, that's my prime time. Gunslinger, slinging that steel. Brett Favre with the arm, keeping it real. Gunslinger, bullets don't miss when I squeeze the trigger. Touchdowns exist, loading up my chamber with that Green Bay gold. Gunslinger legacy, watch the story unfold. Loading up my chamber with that Green Bay gold. Gunslinger legacy, watch the story unfold. They tried to bury me, said my time was done, but the gunslinger don't quit when the battle ain't won. Retirement, come back just to Minnesota, still slinging heat like I'm running the corner. Iron Man Street, 297 straight games, playing through the pain while accumulating fame. Fall to Freeman, fall to Driver. Best believe when I'm shooting, I'm a natural survivor. Fourth quarter clutch, with my back to the wall. Gunslinger never folded, standing 10 feet tall. From dirt roads to Lambo, built my reputation. Trigger finger legend, football's assassination. Gunslinger, slinging that steel. Brett Favre with the arm, keeping it real. Gunslinger, bullets don't miss when I squeeze the trigger. Touchdowns exist, loading up my chamber with that Green Bay gold. Gunslinger legacy, watch the story unfold. Loading up my chamber with that Green Bay gold. Gunslinger legacy, watch the story unfold. Bullet time in slow motion when I step back to throw. 70,000 screaming, but in the zone I go. Sight down the barrel, finger on the trigger. Pull it back and watch my legend grow bigger. Hall of Fame shooter with a cold-blooded stare. Defensive back scattered, running everywhere. Mississippi boy who conquered Wisconsin winners. Gun smoke in the air when the gunslinger enters. They can copy my style but can't match my precision. Every throw calculated, surgical decision. From rookie year struggles to the championship throne. Brett Favre, the gunslinger, carved it in stone. Retire my jersey, number 4 immortal. The gunslingers, legend life through every portal. When the dust settles and the smoke clears away, remember the gunslinger, Brett Favre all day. Loading clips with memories, shooting through time. The greatest gunslinger to ever drop dime.